Namaste ji. In our last week's study of the first two mantras, we learned on Who Am I. We also learned that God is the cause of strength in our senses and organs, all based on the deeds of our prior life. Today we will embark on mantras 3 to 8, of which I will talk in detail about mantras 3 and 4, and I will just summarize mantras 5 through 8. Detailed discussion on 5 through 8 will continue in the following weeks. Mantras 3 and 4 try to answer the question, how can we see the Ishwar? Mantra 3. Na tatra chakshu gacchati, na vak gacchati, no mano na vidmo, na vijanimo, yathai tadanushya danya deva, tadvididathado, aviditadhi iti shushuma purvesham ye nastat vyata chakshire. The eye does not reach him, neither the speech nor the mind. We are not even aware how devotees can be counseled regarding him. He is different from the known and unknown both. We have been hearing this from the rishis, before us interpreting him as such. The physical eyes cannot see him, the Supreme Soul, nor can the tongue properly describe him, nor the unsteady mind comprehend him. Our senses are made to see and feel the material world. How then can they see Ishwar, the most subtle of all? We do not know, nor can we properly know, as to how we can teach about God to disciples. For the Almighty is different from the known visible matter and is beyond the unknown. There are two types of knowledge. One, samanya knowledge, or general knowledge. For example, if we see a laptop from far away, we know only that it is a laptop. We do not know what company it is or what type it is. On the other hand, if we go close to it and actually see it from up close, then we will know that it is a Dell Inspiron 3000 series laptop. This is specific knowledge, or Vishesh Jnana. Of God, we have only some general knowledge, and that too is given only by our ancestors and scholars verbally or in writing. All that we know about God, including his attributes and everything about him, we have been hearing from the old preceptors, sages. In other words, the omniscient God, being formless and not possessed of any material body, cannot be known by our normal senses. We know one drop of the infinite ocean of God. Almighty God being infinite, it is hard for us with finite knowledge and abilities to know infinite. All we know is what is told to us by Vedas or by the enlightenment of sages. One funny story is, once there was a king. He wanted to get his daughter married. So he set the conditions that whichever person would tell him the longest story would get his daughter. And he also set the condition that if the story wasn't long enough, the person would be hanged. Because of that last part, not many people tried. Then one person came. He said, I will tell you the longest story, but you will have to promise to do 3 things. First, if my story is long enough, then you will definitely get me married to your daughter. The king agreed. Secondly, you will listen to the whole story. The king said, of course. Lastly, you will give me half your kingdom if my story is good enough. The king agreed. The person started the story. Once there was a bird. She was looking for food for her children. She flew around looking for food, and finally she got to a farm. The farm had a huge pile of grain. So she picked one piece of grain up, flew back to her nest, and put it in her nest. Then she flew back. She got another piece of grain. Then she flew back to her nest and put it there. The person kept going on and on like this, and when he got to the 5th piece of grain, the king shouted, "What are you doing, stupid? Go on with the story." The person laughingly replied, "How can I go on with the story if the pile of grain is not finished? You promised you would listen to the whole story." So the king finally got his daughter married to that person. Our knowledge of God is like one grain out of a huge pile of grain. For the true enlightenment and communion with the Supreme Being, the person needs to do the following. Do swadhyaya and acquire right knowledge and purify body, mind, and soul. Control senses and their virtuous work, but never be attached to them, their work, and their objects? Finally, the Supreme Being can be truly realized by the soul. After freeing it from all the qualities, sattva, raj, and tam, and getting into the asampradhyat samadhi, the supreme state of mind that facilitates God realization. Mantra 4. Yat vacha nabhyuditam yena vagabhyudyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi netam yadidam upasate. Speech cannot reveal him. The one who causes speech to appear, perceive that alone as Brahman, not the one people worship. For this mantra, many of us think that in the previous mantra, it was said that all we know about God is by our ancestors' sermons. The sermons are done by speech. So then why is it said that God cannot be known by speech? The answer to this is, there are two things. One is hearing about something, and one is actually feeling it or realizing it. These two are very different. For example, if someone told me about the biggest bouncy house in the world, and he said it was really fun and described it a lot, I would not be satisfied. I would want to go to that bouncy house and jump on it to feel the real happiness. Similarly, by speech, we hear about God and we know about Him, but that is not enough to pacify the soul. For example, if someone has seen Stone Mountain, they say it's wonderful, exciting, excellent, etc. Then when they see Niagara Falls, they describe Niagara Falls with the same words. But that is not right. Isn't there any difference between the two? To identify the difference, they would either have to give the falls a better word or give the mountain a lower word. This proves that our speech is sometimes incapable of describing this material world. How then can it describe God? Usually, when we see something, feel something, eat something, etc., it is not directly felt, seen, or tasted by the soul. We need to make a connection from senses to material mind to soul. To actually feel God at the last step of Ashtanga Yoga, Samadhi, we need to get rid of this connection and feel Him directly with our soul. Although we start the process of achieving God and salvation from control of our senses and mind, gradually we have to get rid of the senses, then the mind to attain God and salvation. God, being the subtlest of subtle, is the subject of subtle soul, and not of physical senses like ear or eyes. Mantra 5. Yan manasa namante yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. The one who does not reflect with mind, but through whom the mind reflects, know that alone as Brahman, not the one people worship. Mantra 6. Yat chakshusha pashyati yena chakshunshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. He does not see with the eye, but through whom the eye sees. Perceive that alone as Brahman, not the one people revere. Mantra 7. Yat shotrena nashnoti yena shotramidam shrutam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. He does not hear with the ear, but through whom the ear listens. Perceive that alone as Brahman, not the one people service. Mantra 8. Yat pranena na praniti yena pranaha praniyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. The one who does not breathe with vital air, but through whom all vital life breathes. Note that as Brahman, not the one who people worship. Next week we will study on the translation of mantra numbers 5